For the Herb Report, number 9. The Herb Report, something to watch and listen to. Well, good afternoon, everybody. This is the Herb Report, and special guest co-host, as always. You know him, you love him.
Yeah, that's me, Amit.
That's right. So we're down here in H-Town in Houston.
Yeah, actually we're in Spring, Texas, which is, you know, it's always spring.
It's always spring. It's really nice here.
Yeah, it's a very, very beautiful place.
And similar to being like in New York, is that Houston's kind of like a lot of small towns kind of connected together.
Oh yeah, yeah. We definitely. Herb came in last night, and we probably traveled through at least 20 towns yesterday while we're just running around, seeing old friends, and getting into as much trouble as we could.
Definitely, definitely. Well, we got a chance to go see one of our friends from the game club from years past go act.
Yeah, and also one of your previous interviewees on this show, James Watuski.
Yeah, James, and I want us to say his acting has increased by 20-fold since last time I saw him.
He's definitely become a professional, and I commend him for it. We were talking yesterday about a lot of our friends. A lot of friends. At least I was worried about a lot of our friends coming out because I didn't think that they were going to make the effort to really succeed out there. But man, I'm being pleasantly surprised by most of them, and James is one of them. I was very pleasantly surprised by it. Yeah,
it was great. I can honestly say James is a better actor than I am at this juncture. Definitely on stage. On film, anyways, we'll have to see. We'll have to put me on James at the film and say, Death Stairs, man. It's hard. This kind of brings up a point. We several years ago, was it 2004? The film festival.
2003.
2003.
2003. Yeah.
Amit really was the main focus with the Nacogdoches Film Festival. Hopefully it was supposed to be festivals, but as of this moment it was a festival.
It was the first annual, but there was no annual, so it really was just the first.
And really you learned a lot by putting that thing together.
Yeah, honestly, I would say that if you are ever thinking about doing a film festival in your area, do it. Just do it. You're going to learn it as you go. And one of the things I got from some of our guests who have been to many film festivals. Now, I'm going to preface this with, I had never been to film festival prior to the one that I had done. So I had no idea what was normal, what was regular, what people normally did at film festivals. And I think that was some of the charm of it, is that you didn't have to stick with the stereotypical norms.
Yeah, it was a great learning experience for everybody, and a lot of people attended it.
Yeah, I think last count, probably about 500 or 600 people showed up at the major events. Which, if you think this is Nacogdoches, Texas, which is a pretty small area, pretty off the beaten path, and we had a pretty good turnout. We definitely had a great turnout for it.
Oh yeah, it was, and also the thing that I learned from this was that if you make a film festival, people will put their films in this festival, no matter where it's at.
Yeah, well, I would say that you should always, you have to advertise and let people know about it, but the minute you start letting people know, they start sending you films. I think I started advertising probably 2 months before the film festival or so, and I ended up getting about 30 films. Some of them were brilliant, some of them were basic.
Were Death Stairs. One of my classic moments with this was like they had some film students come up from somewhere in Dallas, or I don't remember where at. They were professional. They were
these were the people who came in from Full Sail, which is a school out of Florida.
Oh,
no, they went to Full Sail.
Oh, I see.
And they actually lived in Dallas, and they came down.
Well, here's a classic Herbert story, is that they showed their movie, and then they showed Death Stairs, and they were speechless. It was like they didn't know what to say or what to watch, and that was my that was my second movie I ever made. Now I've gotten better, but at the time, I'm glad Death Stairs was shown.
Yeah, well, you know, at least you've said you can say that you've had a film shown at a film festival.
Without a doubt.
And that's, you know, more than most people.
And Death Stairs was, it still lives on. People watch it, I don't know, every day, I guess.
Yeah, so you should probably look on YouTube and get a quick chance to watch Death Stairs if you haven't seen the ultimate of Herb's filmmaking ability.
Yeah, that was the most #1 downloaded thing before the Nerd song. Was Death
Wow.
Stairs. Yeah,
Wow.
that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, Meet, I know you recently came back to Houston. You lived here before, and of course you're from you're Texas. You know.
Yeah, I've lived in Texas for quite a while, and then I spent a couple years up north. This is when we were doing the Return of Whatever show on a regular basis. I hope some of you Return of Whatever fans are out there. Or, you know, shoot an email if you want us to start the show back up, because now it's actually a little easier because he's pretty much a couple hours away.
Yeah.
But I did make the move back down to Texas, and you know, it's nice to not have to deal with snow, but man, it rains like no other over here.
And it's a little humid right now.
Yeah.
It's about 12:30 right now, and it's not horrible, but Texas is just humid. And, well, East Texas is.
Well, this is, you know, close to the Galveston, so close enough that we were getting the heat and the humidity.
Yeah.
I'm sure our national and international viewers probably don't really care so much about the weather in Texas. But if you do, go to weather.com.
Yeah, it is rough.
And weather.com, please pay me for that.
Yeah, it's you know, it's an awesome experience to travel around, and you know, like you were saying yesterday, I mean, you miss the north, and if you're not in Texas, you're gonna miss some parts of Texas. So wherever you're at, there's pros and cons wherever you're at.
That's true. That's true. There's some really and you know, this has actually been an interesting week because I've had to think a lot about the Minneapolis area, which is where I lived, because of the bridge crashing down earlier this week. And there were some really beautiful things about that area. But when I was there, I thought that I always remember the beautiful things about the Texas area. So I think there's a happy medium of, you know, gotta start learning to love where you live.
Well, do they have trains in up north?
They do have trains, much like the train that's passing by my apartment complex here.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. Well, it's you know, it really is amazing. Well, you know, you want to. I mean, right now you're making your living pretty much as a programmer in some ways, right?
Well, yeah, I'm a full-time systems engineer is my official title, which really means I'm a Java technical architect for a company down here, and I'm developing some new software. I'm really enjoying this lifestyle. I'm actually getting to work with the cutting edge, which is phenomenal. If you've never worked with the cutting edge, if you're a software developer or interested in being a software developer, try to find a job that lets you work in the cutting edge, because until you do, you don't get half as much enjoyment out of what you're doing. Of course, you do have to work really hard to do it.
Well, there's so many skills in being a programmer, and there's a lot of creativity there too as well.
Yeah, you have to be very creative, and you have to be very logic-oriented. One thing that we were discussing 2 days ago in the office was ways to have our user interface for the software that I'm working on give users clues on what kind of behaviors they would have just by the user interface, not by having to have a message or writing down things like, let's say you've got a little dialog box, or what some people say if you're using a Windows application or MDI, multiple document interface application like Word, something you have to, let's say you click on a link or click on an option, it pulls up a menu, and you can't continue until you go past that menu. Well, there's some ways you can do that with visual clues, like what we were talking about, and actually my idea was to, let's take the background and just fuzz it out and make the front end, that front pop-up, be the only thing that's focusable or that you can read, because that would be a visual clue saying that you can't go past this until you click this button.
Well, do you have these programmers wherever you worked at? There's many of them that are musicians and artists and actors, right? A lot of the really artsy folks are programmers.
You know, I've always heard that the cream of the crop of programmers aren't all musicians.
Wow.
That's something I've heard from many places, and but I've also seen a lot of programmers who don't really have any artistic foundation. Those are the ones that I would say tend to be more on the theoretics of programming. So.
Well, for a while there, when the tech boom was going on, I know when they were needing programmers left and right, a lot of times they would get music people or arts or people that had fine arts degrees and train them to become programmers, because creative people think a little bit, I mean, think differently in some ways, and really a lot of times programming is problem solving, right?
Oh, that's all programming is. All software engineering is figuring out a way to automate and solve problems.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, it's great skill. And you'd recommend anybody going into learning how to program, right?
Oh yeah, I was talking to a young girl who was in, I think in high school, who was taking programming earlier this last week. One of my coworkers' daughters, and she was just thinking about doing it. And I told her that there's no career field you could ever be in that it wouldn't help, even if you didn't want to be a programmer for your job. There's no career field you could ever be in that it would not help to have some programming skills. Take, for example, Herb. Herb is a teacher, musician, and with his programming skills, he was able to create a website, which has got a huge press out there. He also, as a teacher, he's able to write these data applications like Excel macros and things of that sort to help his job.
Yeah, without a doubt, and for me, long before everybody else did with the MySFA portal, I have my syllabus up. I have the course outline of what's going on, and that's because I understood how to do HTML back in the day, even though that's like very limited programming in comparison.
You know what? I would say HTML. I mean, some people would say that HTML is not a programming language because it's just markup.
Yeah.
But the fact is, it's solving a problem. So I think it's a language, and the fact that you did it before most people would.
Well, here's something that's way off there. I came in and someone was locked out of their office, and they were fooling around a lock. And one of the gentlemen working on it was able to get the thing up, and they put the regular key in there and didn't do it. And then I said, well, have you all tried the master key? And they said, yeah, well, that's the first thing we did. Well, they did it before the thing was the little key thing was up. So my problem-solving skills, troubleshooting skills, if you may. When I said, well, let me just try that again. Put it in there, jiggle around, and so this a touch, and bam, the door opened up.
Huh.
And so, even though I have no background
as a locksmith,
it's a locksmith
or a thief.
At
least that's what we know.
I knew that the master key is cut differently than individual keys, and then logic would dictate that it may be able to turn it better than the cut key.
Yeah, it would have a little tolerance.
And I might have been wrong. And of course, a lot of times you need to program and well, that was wrong. Let's fix it. Let's do something better.
Yeah.
And that probably happens all the time, I'm sure.
Oh yeah. I mean, logic that's a lot of what you deal with when you're selling commercial applications is that you develop your software and it goes out to the customer and they say, oh, this is great, but I will never use this way. Let's take an example of student information systems, right? You develop a software to take daily, or let's say in Texas they do attendance by every day, right? Every day students in, they get counted. Every day they're not, they don't get counted. Well, so we write our software to that Texas specification. Well, the school we sell it to says, well, that's great and all, but we'd like to know where they are at all times.
Okay.
Which, where they are at every period. So we have to go back and solve that problem. How do I translate it from a daily attendance to a periodic attendance?
And I think one thing also in program, right, every day is a different challenge. Something to do every day, right?
Yeah, definitely every day challenges, and you don't refer to them as problems in a negative connotation, because if you did, you'd be really fed up with the job pretty quickly. But there are challenges. There are definitely challenges, and there can be challenges such as understanding what exactly somebody means.
How early do you think that they should teach programming in school?
I would say that depending on what kind of program they're teaching. Like when I was in middle school, they taught me BASIC, right? The old, 10 REM.
Oh, so you still using 10 numbers back then?
Yeah.
Wow. What's that called? Number? I don't even know what it's called. I know the new basic. The basic now doesn't use that.
There's Visual Basic, which is a Microsoft product. That's well, in earlier versions was functional, and now it's finally getting more object-oriented in .NET. But I would say that they should teach problem solving to kids.
There you go.
That would be more useful for them. And they should start teaching problem solving and logic to kids, probably even coming in middle school. Hell, even elementary.
Well, I think about elementary like foreign languages. That when I go to Europe, that I'm like an idiot. I can speak one language, barely English. Yeah. And then there's folks over there that walk around. They have 5 little tags on because they can speak 5 languages. And the time we learn a foreign language, like you took foreign language probably, right? In middle school and high school.
Yeah.
And you can't speak any of it, I'm sure. Same with me. I took Spanish for 4 or 5 years.
Estás usted?
Que lástima, yo no sé. That's what I remember. I think I'm malo to lo abuelo or something like that. Bad to the bone. I looked that up. Because I want to go around malo de abuelo or whatever. I'm not even saying it right. So, and that's in middle school. Well, we both should have learned this was back in elementary school when we're like our brains are little sponges and can able to figure out things.
Well, and I think that it would have made sense if we had for foreign languages. You had immersive training.
Without a doubt, yeah.
Because I remember my language classes in school, and it wasn't, or it was read the book, repeat what they say, what you memorize. Where in some schools I hear that you get in the classrooms and they won't let you talk anything but the language.
I'll say this, if I was in Paris long enough, I would learn how to speak French because I want to eat.
Yeah.
I want to get to some place.
Yeah, and if you have that immersive, it's always easier to learn a language when you're immersed by it because you want to learn.
I say within 3 months, I won't say I would be fluent, but I would be functional because of design, because I would have to be functional to get around and whatnot. Heck, 3 weeks, I think I would have been able to get around good enough. Or anyways, I can go on about how much early foreign language should be there, and I think programming, because it is the thing about this is that data with Google, with Wikipedia has changed. What's the rain total in Belize? All right, we can look at it really quickly.
Yeah.
But really, the more important thing is why does it rain that much there, and how does it rain that much there, and what's the outcome of the rain there? That's more important.
Yeah, that's the logic, the problem solving, the logic. That's being able to take it from the first step. If you the listener are a programmer or are thinking about becoming a programmer, or even just thinking about learning programming on the side, one of the first skills you have to learn is debugging. And on its surface, it's fixing the problem because there's an issue here, right? For some reason, or you get 2 + 2 = 5. Well, the quick fix is just saying, put some sort of static thing saying that every time you have 2 + 2, make it equal 5. The real fix is finding out why 2 + 2 was equaling 5 to begin with. It could be that it's taking the max value of the 2 as a decimal point, and for some reason that's coming out to 3. That's what we in the programming world and as a debugger would call root cause analysis. That can actually translate well into the real world with other things, like, as I said, it rained 11 inches in Belize. Why did that happen?
Yeah, and one of the things this is, and fortunately the last couple of years I haven't had this as much, but I used to have students to say this: tell me the answer. Honestly, I don't care about the answer. I care about how do you get to the answer. And like, let's say this, like the distance from the Earth to the Moon on average, and that's about, let's say 200, I believe somewhere 250,000 kilometers, something like that. I mean, so that's, you know, how you come up with that answer is more important than this spitting out the fact of that. You know, at some points of the year, the Earth is closer to the moon, so it's going to be closer. At some points of the year, the Earth is further away from the moon. And you know, and why is that? Anyways, it is kind of a. If you remember this, I do remember this. The distance from the Earth to the moon is roughly 60 Earth radii. I don't know why I remember that.
Okay.
The 60 Earth radii. And now the next thing is that, you know, how big is the Earth radii?
Yeah. I have no idea.
But we can look that up really quickly if we need to as data. But the critical thing is the thing that's most important because, you know, how long have you been out of college?
What year is it?
That's 2007.
I think 3-4 years maybe.
Well, you know, if you really think about this, you know, what's the stuff that you remember 5 years after you took a class? What you actually remember? You know, the data part is little, but hopefully the critical thinking part is the part that you remember. The essence of it, the spirit of it, the philosophy of the classes that you took.
Oh, I would agree. As a programmer, majority of my school work was spent working in C++ and learning the concepts in general, right? Well, as a professional programmer now, I don't work in C++, and I don't ever remember the language at all. But the concepts behind it, you know, what a list is, how to create a sort, or what to use a sort for. Those concepts I'm using even today with what languages I work with now.
So if you learn Fortran 77 in a day, well, you can still use that concepts for the Perl scripting or whatever the hot language is at the time.
Well, you'd have what it is it's learning the problem solving piece.
Exactly.
So you go back to the problem solving piece. If you can map out how to solve a problem, you can write a program to do it.
I agree.
I mean, that's 100% of what you have to do. If you let's say I have the problem of, I don't know, I want to count how many people are visiting my website. Well, if you can map out, well, okay, I want to count it, step 1, I want to initialize the count at 0. Okay, step 2, I want to count a person who clicks on my website. Anytime they click on my website, and they came from a certain IP address, you know.
Yeah.
You just keep adding your rules, and then eventually you've got the program, and then you just take that and turn it to code. Turning to code part's the easy part.
So really like in composition, my teacher would talk about Beethoven and what was called pre-compositional thought. Was before you even wrote a note of music, you figure out, all right, what form this is going to be, what key it's going to be in, what melody, what melodic figures are we going to use in this piece and whatnot, and all that stuff's there. And once you had that, man, the composition came very easily. I mean, Beethoven would do this. He would write out whole rhythms of string quartets for movements, like this is the rhythm, because he cared so much about rhythm. Then he would go back later and put in the melody parts of it.
Yeah.
And all that's pre-compositional thought. So I guess that's one avenue why they took composers and musicians and turned them into programmers, because they had a lot of that critical thinking, problem-solving skills there.
Yeah, that's probably it. And then there's also the fact is that at that time period, you know, traditional programmers were used to writing console applications or, you know, like applications that, you know, they worked the way they wanted the application to work. They didn't work the way that the user wanted the application to work. And artists, or that artistic point of view would be more, let's get it to the masses. There's some respect.
There's an example of a music notation program, like the really big one. I won't mention its name. For years and years and years, it was it's horrible. It could do everything, but you could tell the people that designed it weren't musicians. Then there's this other program that I actually really liked a whole lot. A little bit simple. Didn't do it. That wasn't quite as powerful, but man, it was intuitive for musicians, and that was a great program. Sadly, the program that wasn't designed as well became the paradigm, and as the years go on, it got more and more and more like that original program that was good.
Yeah, the user interface, they tweaked the user interface as people started moving off to go to the one that worked easier.
Something that would take one step in one program would take like 7 steps in the other program, because if you're an engineer or if you're not a composer or musician, you wouldn't just think, well, why would you need to do this? Well, heck, you use this all the time. If you need to use this all the time, well, it would be one button. Anyways, so time and time again, I guess that happens periodically, and I will say that program has gotten infinitely better, and I will actually use that program now, but at the time it was like back in 1990 was when I first saw that program, and it was like flying a space shuttle. It was horrible. Well, Meet, I think this is a good Herb report. It's always great having a chance to hang out with Meet, someone with so much talent as you have, and experience.
It's been a while since we've hung out, and it's been nice.
Since May, I guess, since we saw the Harry Connick Jr. concert with Arthur playing, and that was a great experience too.
Yeah, every time you come by, you got a free ticket somewhere. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. I get. What can I say? Well, thank you all.
You got to know.
Well, thank you all. The Herb report is now over. The Herb report is done. Goodbye, everybody. Y'all have a great day.